everyone, I'm Naomi from Quality Sewing and Vacuum, and we are here for Sew Fun August 2020, and here's my sewing partner,
Cindy. You can finish your talking with.
And I wanted to tell you about a couple things before we get started. First, you want to make sure you got an email and there's a print off that you can see all the items that we're bringing in today. And then we are also having a drawing. So from today until Thursday morning, you can post a picture of a show and tell item. And we have 5 different prizes that we are going to give away all at random. So please make sure to post your show and tell in the comments down below. And we would love to hear where you're from. So if you're from out of state, even if you're local, post in the comments below so that we can see where you are from.
Anyway, I'm Cindy, and it's so exciting to be with you today. It's difficult to talk to a camera rather than all of your lovely faces, but we'll give it our best shot. And I want to do a special shout out to my sister Sue in Junction City, Kansas, who's watching her baby sister today. So, and all the rest of you from out of state as well as our own local troops. Did you say we were from Washington?
Yeah, so
Western Washington. That's where we're from. That's where we're filming today. So, anyway, it's good to see you. Are we ready to begin?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. So, our first, what we try to do is on that printout, if you've printed out your price list, what we try to do is kind of go in order, even though that is alphabetical. And so sometimes we have to combine a couple of things together, but we'll try to keep you on track with where we are with that price list so that you can follow it down. But we're going to start with All That Jazz, A for All That Jazz. And this is our pattern today. And you can see a sample here right above me. And then Naomi has her sample over here on this board over here. And I need to tell you that when I first saw this pattern, I was a little intimidated. I thought, oh my gosh, look at all those little jaggy lines, and how am I going to sew those things together? And I was very surprised. It went together very nicely. Naomi's going to talk about the ruler that we used, but this came out, it was a lot of fun to make. I would suggest that you use high contrast fabrics so that it pops a little bit so that you can kind of see. You can see lights, mediums, and darks here and in Naomi's as well. And I actually did a little experimentation with quilting on this. I used the clear monofilament thread to quilt because I didn't want anything to detract from the actual cool jagged lines there. And so I used clear on the lighter pieces and the smoke colored monofilament thread on the darker pieces. And then I used clear in my bobbin thread, but only because I had a bobbin that was full of it already. I could have used dark on this very easily too. But anyway, it was a lot of fun to make. One suggestion for All That Jazz is that you label the pieces when you cut. It'll help just clear things up in your mind and keep things really straight. So anyway, that's my take on All That Jazz. I can't wait to use it someplace, whether it's going to be on the wall or on a circular table someplace. I don't know. Naomi,
hey,
she'll talk about how she did hers.
So on mine, I created it with using batik fabrics, and I ended up quilting it in the hoop with a design we brought in that I'll go over a little bit later. And I put stars down the middle with some lines radiating off. And then I used the coordinating fabric on the back. And this quilt, or this pattern, went together really easy. I mean, if you love to sew strips together, this is the pattern for you. I put this top together in about a day, and I mean, you're just sewing your strips, and you want to make sure when you sew your strips, you sew from the top down, and then when you add your next strip, you sew from the bottom up so you don't get it distorting. And then you're going to pair it with this 10-degree ruler, and in the pattern, it has the layout, so I'll see if we can zoom in here a little right there. And it has the layout, and it will tell you exactly where you need to place it. So for video purposes, I put little arrows and you just have your strips and you line this up with different parts. And you also want to make sure, and actually while you're looking at that, I'm going to grab a piece of paper. Okay, so pretty much what you do when you make this, you want to make sure you're grouping everything together. You're slicing your different strips, there's different sizes, and you want to make sure you make your piles as you're making it. And another bonus is you don't have edges that you have to match up. So no corners, really easy to make, and a lot of fun. So then we're going to move on to our next one, and I'm wearing it. So this is the Charlie Ann dress, and I'll grab the pattern, but it goes from size extra small to 4XL, and in this I was able to pair the medium bottom with the large top. It wraps around, and don't worry, I have clothing underneath. But this way you can kind of see. And you'll see you do a binding, and I chose to do a hand stitch, but you could use your sewing machine and do a nice top stitch. And then you just kind of find your strings, and you want to pull it tight. But this also has a nice tulip, if you really can see. It has a nice tulip cut with bell sleeves. And then, haha. You just cinch it. And I used a woven cotton linen fabric. I like to use more of a blend because then, you know, you don't have to iron it as much. But I'm very happy with how it turned out, and it's great for summer and fall, and it's very comfortable. So then Cindy's going to take it away and do her demo for you right now.
Well, this is a very, very cute little pattern, or a kit that I actually got several years ago from American Quilter Society. And I wanted to do mitered borders on this. And last February when I did So Fun, there were several of you that were admiring a mitered bordered quilt that I had brought to So Fun. And you said you didn't know how to do a mitered border. So I promised that I would do a mitered border demo for you. So this is what the mitered border looks like. I don't know, am I too close? Am I good? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you can kind of see that you have this, instead of sewing the strips on individually, the sides first and then the tops, and making just kind of a square here, this actually makes a 45-degree angle. So our first step is to actually, I don't know if you can zoom in on this formula, figure out how much length you need, because you're going to need extra length on your strips. So the formula is your quilt length or width plus 2 times the border width plus 4 inches. And that equals how long you cut your sides for your border, your tops and your sides. And so my quilt measures 36 3/4 inches long and 30.5 inches wide. Now that is before the borders. The border is 3.5 inches finished width. So when I plug those measurements in to the formula, I have my 36 3/4 plus 2 times my width, which was 3.5, plus 4 equals 48 inches rounded up length. That's how long my strips need to be for my length. And so the width is 30.5 plus 2 times the border width again, plus 4 inches equals 42 inches rounded up width. So I have cut those strips and actually sewn them on. So you want to sew your border strips together first. That's the beauty of doing this, is you don't have to individually add your borders. You sew them together first. One thing you want to be sure and avoid is having where you join your strips. If it's more than 42 inches, you'll have to join strips together. You want to be sure to not have your 45-degree sewn line on your strip up close to where your mitered is going to be. Also, you don't want where you join your strips together directly opposite one another on your two borders. So what I do is I take one of my borders when I'm sewing them together, when I'm sewing my strips together, I take one of them and make a tube, and I sew it in a tube and then cut in between the two sewings. And so you can see, let's find a length here. So you can see, let's do it this way, they can see this better probably. Here is where I joined my purple strip right there, and then down here is where the flowery outer border is. So you don't want those to be directly opposite one another because it'll just show up too much. But anyway, so when you sew your strips on, you want to sew 1/4 of an inch away from the edge. So you do not sew it all the way through. You make a 1/4 inch mark on each end, and then you sew from that 1/4 inch mark. You want to, when you pin these on, you want to be sure that you start in the middle so that you have an equal amount of the extra fabric on each end. And so then, once you get those sewn on at that 1/4 inch mark, your corner is going to kind of look like this. And from the back side, it looks like that. And there's my 1/4 inch mark showing up in pink right there. So I know where to stop and start. Okay, now the next step is to fold this diagonally and take your two corners, or your corner, I guess there's just one corner, two strips, and you line up your borders like this. I'm going to go over to this table now and then show you what happens next. Actually, I'm going to choose a different end because I've already sewn it. So I'm looking for, oh, this one. So we fold these pretty evenly. And I'm going to make my seam line. When I sewed this, I used regular thread that would match. I wasn't thinking that I was going to be using this. I wasn't thinking demo, I guess. And so I'm going to mark my seam line here with a black friction pen so that you can see it a little bit better. And then, because you want these to be sure to match up, I'm going to go through and match up those seam lines a little bit. That's pretty much right on the money, that one. That one, this is where we're actually going to join it, so let me, a little off, so I want them to exactly match. I love this method of putting borders on. And further on down. And then you take your ruler, and I have marked the 45 degree with some tape here. And you line that up with that seam line that I just kind of marked in dark. Let me move this down a little bit so you get a better shot. And we're going to start stitching right at that, where that 1/4 inch, where I stopped stitching before. So we want to be sure that's visible to us right there at that end of that stitch line. I'm going to slip that out. It's going to interfere with my line here. And line this up 45 degrees on that line with the stitch line. And okay. Oh, it's already on. Okay, and then draw a line right there, all the way down to that stitch line. Now, if you want to just double check and make sure that it's all going to be okay, you could put pins in like this, and then turn it outside, just to be sure that it's going to match up correctly. And you can kind of see that how that would work. So, and then I'm going to sew right on that line down to where my stitching ended, right there. Over at the machine, using black thread. So when I get home, I'll rip that out and use my beige thread again. And I want to hit it right on the money, so let me just move that over just a touch. I'm not going to backstitch. Normally you would backstitch. I'm not going to backstitch because I'm going to take that black thread out of there. You can see another pink line there. I had done a rough of that before, but I can see that I wasn't right on the money with that. So you can see right where I'm coming up to that, and I wanted exactly to match. And I might do a backstitch here just to hold that in place. Okay. All right. Then open it up and see how well I did. There we go. There's your mitered corner. And then all you do then is just trim this down 1/4 of an inch here, press the seam open, and that's it. So very, very fun to do. Of course, when you have a bigger quilt, it will cause you a little bit more grief maybe, but just more fabric to deal with. But it makes it so much faster when you can sew all your borders on at once. But that is the formula, and that's the demo, and good luck with that, ladies and gentlemen. And I have one more to do, you can see over here. And then I'm going to do some fun quilting on this. Maybe do a little thread painting around the vase and the flowers, and then some echo quilting, and I don't know what else. I'm not real talented with quilting, but I try my best. Okay, that's the demo. Good luck.
Hey everyone, that was a great demo. Thank you, Cindy. I really appreciate seeing the demos because there's certain techniques that sometimes you forget about and you're like, oh, why don't I do that more often? But the next one we're going to talk about is the book we brought in, and this is Follow Your Heart by Terry Atkinson. I'm great at pronouncing stuff, so sorry. I like to jumble words. I'm great like that. So now that I'm over the jitters, let's have some fun. If you're ready for some fun, raise your hand. Anyone? Huh? No? Okay. So I'm going to get Cindy over here, and she's going to help me hold up a quilt. It's actually, in this book, it's called the Sampler Quilt. And she's going to walk around or away from me so she's not close to me. Sorry about that.
Okay, is there a top or a bottom?
Okay. So, here we go. So this is the Sampler Quilt, and it has 15 different blocks in it. And the inspiration in this book from the author is she went and she traveled around the US, and each block represents a different area that she was in. And so with this, you can see all the fun blocks. And of course, if you know me from the north end, what am I obsessed with putting on the back? Minky. I gotta have my Minky.
Oh, it's so soft.
It's so soft and cuddly, and you can kind of see the quilting. We got some fun circles and swirls. And this was used, this is, what is it, fat quarter friendly. So you have lights and darks, and you just match it, and then you have a nice scrappy border. And this just, it went together very, pretty easy. Some blocks were a little more challenging. Thank you. You want to set that down? Yep. With that quilt, and in the book, you will need some rulers. So first we have the companion angle ruler. I was going to say, I don't know. And then you have the easy angle ruler. And then this one, we didn't bring it in to sell because we've brought it in before. And this is the 60-degree ruler, triangle ruler. And you'll need them for some of the blocks, but not all of the blocks. But before I jump ahead, there was one question on there I wanted to answer before I got too far ahead about the dress. Do you have to wear clothing underneath it, or can you get away with not? So I'm only wearing clothing underneath it because I wanted to open it up and show you. You don't have to wear clothing. In the pattern, there is the option to install a little like clip right here so it'd stay nice. Or you could put a nice little inlay. There's lots of different options, but I feel like it goes down far enough on the legs, it keeps everything covered. And then up here, it's nice and concealing. So hopefully that answers your question. So the next item we're gonna go over in the book, I'm gonna use my cheat sheet, don't mind me, is the Blue Spruce Table Runner. And that's this one. And this has the little trees on it. And if you look a little closer at it, you'll notice the quilting. This has quilting in the hoop. We brought it in. It's, I believe it's called Designs, what is it, Designs 2? Quilting Designs 2. And with this, I was able to hoop it up and get all the way across it and then just move my hooping down. And with the circles, it's nice because they're already overlaying, so you don't have to worry like, oh, is this matching up just perfect? It's fun, you know, just go with it, have fun, it's gonna look great. And then on the back, I didn't have enough fabric, so I just did some piecing.
Naomi?
Yes.
We've had a couple questions from different viewers asking, what kind of batting are you using with the Minky on the back of your quilt? Okay,
so the question was, what kind of batting am I using for the quilts with Minky on the back? And I usually use Warm and Natural. Some people don't like to use batting because they feel like it might get a little too warm, but I don't feel like it adds that much warmth to it. And, you know, if you've had me before, it's so fun. I've talked a lot about when you have Minky on the back of a quilt, it's a lot more cuddly. My kids use it versus if I have a quilt with cotton. So that's why I really try and go towards the Minky. But yes, and I always use Warm and Natural batting. The next one is this table runner right here, and it is called, it is called a mystery. It's called live YouTube and Facebook, right? It's called Turn Lane Table Runner. And this one, you use the 60-degree ruler. And again, on this one, I use my Quilting in the Hoop designs. And this one is another one just like the circle. Very easy to line up. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect because there's a lot of overlapping. And so this one, it went very smooth, and I just did a grunge gray on the back. And then the next one, let's go to this right here, the travel tote. And so I made two. So what do we do in quarantine time? We get a little extra creative, or we finish a bunch of projects, or I'm just like, hey, I'm gonna make a bunch of more items for this. So the first one I made is this purple one, and I only used the batting that they recommended, and I like it, but it is a little bit floppy, but it has the little swivel and the D-ring that you can hook your keys onto, and it's actually a pretty good size. You can fit a lot in there. And then if you look in the book, you'll see this pattern, and this is the fabric they use. I got this fabric from So Expo about 2 or 3 years ago, and so I just love the llamas. We have no drama in these llamas. And this one I use batting with, I believe it was an 809 interfacing combined, so it's a stiffer and it sits up, which I prefer that. Do we have another?
No, I was gonna.
Oh, thank you. So right here is the Quilting Designs 2. And if you look at the back, you'll see lots of different designs. And I will say, some of the designs, like if you're starting out and you're a little nervous, start with, like I said, the circles and the rectangles that overlap, because you're going to find those a lot easier, and then move into some of the other ones. And then I have so many fun things. Like I said, I went kind of crazy. But it's fun, right? We're here to have fun. So the Zip and Go, which is over at the table. So I made 3. I wanted to make a variety. So with the first one, I made a cork one. And we brought in some cork for you. And it has a cotton lining and then a fleece interfacing. And some of the cork we brought in, we have a couple different colors, and it's a 3-pack, and they're 12 by 18 sheets. A lot of great colors. And then this one, I did a cotton cork combo. So it's a little, it's not as stiff as this one, but it still holds its shape. Same lining. And then this one is all cotton fabric. And I will say, I made one more, but my 11-year-old daughter told me I couldn't bring it. She wanted one that could fit her sewing scissors, so I made this just a little bit longer so that she could fit her sewing scissors in, and it was very easy to adjust the pattern to that size. But you know, 11-year-old girls, you can't take anything away from them once you give them something. And then we have the rectangle rodeo, which is over here. Like I said, I was going crazy. How many of us are still going crazy in quarantine? So this one, rectangle rodeo. And this kind of reminds me of subway tile. You know, you're sewing a lot of rectangles together and you make rows. So you make a row this way, you make 3 rows, and then you attach them. And then I had my long arm quilter. She quilted some ice cream cones on it. And then orange Minky on the back. And you can really see the quilting, hopefully. It's just so cozy. If I wasn't kind of warm right now, I would put this on and just snuggle with it. Let's see. Let me see if I have anything else.
You have a request to see the cover.
Oh, yes. So here's the cover of the book. Look at the book, not my face. Okay. I think, let's see.
I got projects.
Yeah. I believe that is everything that I made out of the book. I'm going to pass it over to Cindy, and she'll go over her items with you.
Well, I had so much fun. That book has some great patterns in it, and I can't wait to make more. One of them was this one over here, and it is called City Streets. And it's a cute, fun little baby-sized type quilt. You can actually make this in 5 different sizes. It comes with more sizes. And I don't use Minky, but my big thing is to add something interesting on the back. So all the little leftover half-square triangles that were left from trimming, I put those a little stripe on the back, so it's always fun to do that. But one thing that's kind of neat about this, if you really kind of look at it, let's see, look at these 2 blocks here. They're just reverse as far as the fabrics, and so this is very fat quarter friendly. And so you use the whole fat quarter, which is great, and just by making reverse. I did add a little flange here. It's one of my first attempts at doing a flange. I'm kind of a purist where I have to do everything by hand for bindings, but this is actually machine done. And I guess it's okay for my first attempt at a flange. Actually, maybe it's my second or third, but probably the first one that I'll claim, if you know what I mean. But anyway, that was a fun quilt to make, and it went together very easy, very quickly. So just be careful with your contrast. Make sure that you have enough contrast in your fabrics so that they kind of pop out. But that would be, I mean, if for beginning quilter, it'd be a great project, and you could make it into a twin size, queen size, or king size, actually, because it gives you different measurements. Another project from that book, Follow Your Heart, was this Ribbon Rhodes table runner. Also, another very quick project. This went together in about, I would say, 2 hours. And so you can see the little ribbon road. This was, the author was inspired by some crooked road up through the Rocky Mountains that she was on, and so she did this little pattern here, which was very cute. So you want to have pretty high contrast between your background strips and whatever you use for your road, so that it shows up really well. But that was a very fun quilt and very quick to make. And both of these quilts were quilted by my quilter, and she did a great job, and I love her. She's awesome. She does a lot of cool things for me. Okay, and then I also made the travel tote, and talk about easy. This is a quick and easy project. I actually used in R form, which is an R&K product that has fusible on one side. And so this is all fused to one side of it. It's about the same weight as Annie's, maybe not quite as stiff, but I wanted it to stand up, and so I used the in R form. And then the pattern actually doesn't have you make like a regular lining like this one. It's just everything's kind of sewn together, and so you see the seams, but I went ahead and made a lining that the seams aren't showing. So it's pretty easy to do. I just kind of copied whatever I did on the outside. I just did it for that. Really easy way. I mean, the box bottom, it was just really seamless to put this together. Also another very, very quick project. I love the hardware, the addition of hardware, so I can hang things on here if I want to. This was I don't even know if they have this hardware available anymore. I'd had it around in my stash for quite some time. Has a hook there, or and then a place over here if you have something that already has a hook on it. You don't have to put those on. It's totally up to you. But I just thought it was a neat idea, and so I did it. Okay, so those were the 3 projects that I made you were talking about the designs, weren't you? So I did actually, there they are. They're buried underneath some stuff. I actually made some samples of those designs. Probably want to get some close up. And I realized after I did this, I used double batting here, so I could use this like for a trivet or maybe even a pot holder. I realized once I used this dark fabric that the stitching didn't show up too much, so I did another one on a white. These will be used for like Christmas. This is just one of them. I did this in my 9-inch hoop. These are 8-inch blocks. And then the circles on the red and green. So we'll use those for Christmas next year, either for a hot pad on the table or for pulling that turkey out of the oven. Who knows? Anyway, but it's very versatile. That particular set of designs, many, many sizes and hundreds of designs. They have borders in there, corners, and then just block things like these. But it's very versatile. Really fun. Naomi did much more of her quilting on her quilts with that, and I did not do that. But anyway, it was a fun project. Yes?
A question from a customer is, could you show the tote pattern again? Is that not inside the book?
This one is inside the book.
Thank you for clarifying.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. We did talk a little bit about, Naomi, insulated shopping bag. Woohoo! Yes, this is my insulated shopping bag. And sometimes I go over the top like Naomi. Naomi went over the top this time. I actually put in some vinyl lining, some iron-on vinyl here, and I added some extra batting. It comes with like Insulbright, and then it just suggests that you just use that. Well, I added some extra batting and the vinyl lining. What's so nice about this too, though, it comes with this piece of plastic to put in the bottom. And notice it's plastic, so if you have like ice cream or something that might be kind of wet, it's down there on the bottom. It also comes with little these little ties, like scrunchy type ties, that you can choose if you want to actually sew those on the sides and on the middle with a button to hold them on. This is the actual pattern here, or the package. It's a quilt as you go. You can't get much better than that. Very easy to do. Sometimes I shop for fabrics at Tuesday morning. If you be really careful, you can find some pretty good stuff. So the 2.5-inch strips here were from a package of like 20. So it doesn't take a whole package of 2.5-inch strips. And then little 5-inch squares was a package of probably 20 as well that I found it Tuesday morning. So it went together rather inexpensively and lots of fun to make. But this is it, and you can see the little ties. Also has the strapping that you can cover for the strapping. So that was very great. So you have one as well that you made.
Okay, so here's my version. I don't know, she was saying I kind of go overboard or crazy sometimes, but you know what? I kind of just sometimes keep making stuff until I get patterns for the next sew fun I'm doing. So, you know, it's life. So this pattern she was talking about, this is a June Taylor pattern. So if you like June Taylor patterns, this is one that you are going to want to pick up. I use jelly rolls and charm packs. And like she said, you have the insert. And I did some fun colors. And then on the inside, I did this purple with gold running through it. And it's a great size. I can easily fit, you know, I'm not saying I'd want to carry it, but you could fit 2 jugs of milk in here. That would be a backbreaker. But it's, you know, it's a nice size. You can definitely get food in here, a lot of food. And I used a Pellin 809 medium weight iron-on for the handles. So I decided not to use the handles that came with it. I just used the Pellin 809 just because it was a little different feeling. It was a little stiffer. So, and then I think we're going to go into the twirl. Okay. Or no, what are we doing next? The twirl?
Yes, we're doing the twirl.
Okay, that's what I thought. Sometimes my mind's going one direction, my body's going the other direction. Do you ever have that problem? So this one is the twirl. And let me tell you, I typically don't sew a lot of curves, but when Cindy recommended this pattern to me and we brought it in, I had so much fun. You know, it really expanded my sewing capabilities because I don't do a lot of curves. I'm a little more, I like jelly rolls, I like pre-cuts, but this one really, like I said, expanded my mind. And then of course, you know me, Minky. And if you take a look at that quilt pattern, I'll flip it back around. She took the design, the block that you make. So you can see how she recreated that block. And with this, so here's the pattern, what it looks like. And I kind of went opposite. I did the gray as my orange part and the yellow as the gray part. I wanted to reverse it. And in the pattern, it's very important, she will have you make a little fabric grid so that you don't get confused about pieces of fabric. And then you're also going to use this ruler, and this is called the ovals always. And so to make it easy, I put little arrows marking, hopefully you can see that. And what you're going to do is you're going to have 2 different sizes of rectangles, and it's going to tell you to cut and line up in different locations. And I'm going to go over that in our demo. So for right now, I'm gonna pass it back to Cindy, and she's gonna go over hers with you, and then we're gonna come back and do my demo.
I love Naomi's Minky. They're just so soft and warm. I haven't quite mastered the Minky yet. I'm gonna have to talk to her about doing some of that. Anyway, this is my twirls here, and I made it square. The pattern actually has one more row of these, and I made it square like for a baby quilt for those great grandchildren I don't have yet, but I hope to have someday. And this was very fun. The pattern does show that the background, she used just some scraps of some light fabric, some whites and just soft whites, but I decided to do just one and then make my ovals and my twirlies, the scrappy fabrics. And so I used up, I mean, this was all stuff I had in my stash, and I was able to use up a lot. It's real important that you label things as you cut them out, because as you can tell, there's a lot of different sizes, and sometimes, and Naomi will show you in her demo how you make up something and then you cut it again. So it's real important to do the labeling. But it was a very fun thing to do, and I think it's a real showstopper. I mean, my husband even, he walked in and he goes, I was on my design wall, and he looked at that and he said, oh my gosh, what is that? And he said, that is the coolest thing. He liked this one even better than he liked the one up there. So anyway, but it's a lot of fun and challenging sometimes, but we made it through it. Naomi and I did, and I'm glad that I did it. It was a very fun thing to make. And what's so nice about it is these rulers that we're talking about today, they can be used in so many other ways than just the patterns that we're showing you. They, in fact, I believe in this one there's some suggestions on other ways you can use the oval rulers, as well as the other two that Naomi talked about that go with the book. They make half square triangles and all kinds of things. So they're not just for these one patterns. But anyway, Naomi, are you ready for your demo? Okay, let's switch back to Naomi.
Okay, here's the stress part, the demo. So I definitely have to show you what not to do. So the key of what not to do when you are sewing your pieces together, make sure you have your piece going in the correct direction. So this is the what not to do, because that's not going to go together. I always like to show that, like, hey, we mess up, we're all human, we're going to get over it and move on, hopefully, right? So if we're going to look at the table, and you'll notice in the pattern that she has it explained very easy, like where you're going to cut on this ruler, 6B, 6'5", and 4, I put the little arrows so you can see. And then you also want to, it says B, because over here there's A, B, and C. You're going to line up that corner with the edge of your fabric, and you're going to cut here and here on the larger one. And then for the smaller one, we're going to scoot just, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to line it up with that B down here in the corner. But on this one, we're going to do 5.5B and 7B. So then up here, I've got 7 and 5.5. And then you're going to cut that. So then you're going to sew that together. You're going to mix up your fabrics, and you're going to sew, and then you're going to sew them together and get a variety like this. But you're not done yet. So if we can look at this square. So this is the block. If you look at this whole section here, this is one complete block. We just made this section right here. Now over here, you're going to make the same thing, but then once you get this piece together, you're going to cut out another section and add it. And then in the beginning, or in the middle, it's nice because there are some squares and rectangles, and there's no Y seams, and as you go through it, it amazes me how it just all comes together. So what I'm going to show you is the author of this. She recommends a way to sew curves. Now, I know a lot of us would just line them up and put a million pins on it and then slowly go around that corner. So the way that this author as you do it is, let me move this out of the way. You take one of your pieces with your skinny piece here. She has you sew about an inch down from the top, and then you're going to take this side and line it up, and you're going to sew here. And if you want to, you can put like one pin in the middle, but we're going to wing it and we're going to try no pins. So let's cross our fingers. We're going to go to the sewing machine. So what we're going to do now is we have that inch, and this is also, she really likes to do this because you can sew a bunch of these pieces together. You can chain sew them. And then we're going to line that up to our best ability. Once it's on the internet, it's on the internet, right? And I kind of moved my foot over, so I should be at about 1/4 of an inch. And this is not my sewing machine, so bear with me. So like anything, I just kind of get it started a couple stitches in so I know it's holding it nice and tight. And then I'm not stretching it, but I am I'm pulling on it just enough to get it lined up. And if you're at home, you can lick your finger. You can't do that here. It's not allowed. And then I'm just going to make sure I'm still lined up, and I am. I'm not stretching the fabric. I'm just going to maneuver, line it up. Here we go. Don't sew a finger. Have fun. And we're just going to keep going, and you see where I left off before. And we're just going to go over it a little bit. And then we're going to cut it. And we're going to cross our fingers again, right? Then we're going to go over to the ironing board. Let's press it real quick. And when you press these, you want to press them. I'll show you. You want to press them in. So it's kind of weird to iron at first because of it's a curve. And you want to make sure you're not distorting it and twisting it. Press, press. And then what you're going to do, I'm not going to do this right now, but then you're going to attach your next piece, do the same method, sew an inch, flip it around, and then sew from the other, and then press it with your seams going the opposite way in, and you will have a complete block, just like this one. And so once you get to this part, half of your blocks are done. The other half, you're still going to have to take the ruler and cut another section out, but once you get this done, it's easy. It just starts flowing. So I'm going to pass it back over to Cindy, and she's going to go on to the next project. I'll see you in a minute.
Naomi, one question
Yes.
from a customer.
One question.
Would you use your walking foot or dual feet as you sew? Do you have that option?
You know, since for this project?
That's what I
Okay. So this is cotton, so there's not a lot of layers, and I don't feel like you need to. I feel like if you just have your regular foot on, or your 1/4 inch foot, it'll work just fine. Yeah, and Cindy agrees. Yeah.
Okay, we have some lovely pillows today. These were so fun. This is another June Taylor Quilt As You Go. This is the actual, and with this package, this product has 3 different pillows in there for you. It has the Quilt As You Go batting, and it gives you good instructions on sizes of fabric to cut. And I don't know, I had a lot of fun with it. This is the pillow that I made. this is the same as this one, the blue one on the right. I used a border print, and because of that, I had to finagle a little bit to make sure that everything was even with the border print. If you just use plain fabric like in the sample, you wouldn't have to do that so much, but I just really like this, this particular stuff, and I had made something with this a couple years ago. And then I added a little embellishment here, and I wish I would have added more. I think it would have kind of dressed the pillow up even more. But I really love this. And what I really like too is the binding on here. Instead of just having a pillow with just the seam, you actually have a binding on here. So it adds, I mean, it just dresses it up. It looks really good. And they give you complete instructions, so you have an envelope backing on these pillows. And but you actually can make 3 of these from each product package here. It was easy to do, quick, like an hour to sew everything together. I mean, I always do my bindings by hand, so of course that always takes me a little bit longer. But anyway, it was very, very fun to do, fun project, and it's going to look really good on my white wicker. So anyway, Naomi, you have a pillow too that's beautiful.
Yes, I do. I kind of went in a different season. You know, when you do August, you know, you can kind of do summer and you can kind of do fall. And I'm like, why not do winter? So I went Christmas holiday, and I agree. This pattern went together so quick and easy. And if you look at, I'm going to make the other 2, but I wanted to show. So this is what you get. And it's, you know, sewing by numbers, and you're just going to place it and sew it. And then I have all my fabric waiting. So with this one, I dressed it up a little. I used my scan and cut, and I cut out some red shiny vinyl and put Happy Holidays. And then I agree with her. I love the binding borders, but at some point I'm like, binding, I'm dreaming about it, right? And so I put an invisible zipper down here in the bottom. And then I put a red Minky on the back. So it's kind of reversible now. It's like, this is cute on the couch, but then if you want to lay down on your couch and take a nap, you flip it over and you can just lay your head. So, yeah, I've really enjoyed making these pillows. They're a lot of fun, and I can't wait to make the next couple. And I think the next item we're going to go into is called the Redwood Tote. And I have 2 hanging up right here. If you want to zoom in, I'll grab the pattern. And so this one is by Noodlehead, and I'll show you the one I made first, which is the orange one. I totally meant to do that. So this one is upholstery fabric, and you have a nice little zipper pocket right here, and then the top zips closed, which is nice because I don't know about you, but sometimes when I'm driving and I go around a corner, your purse falls over and everything goes everywhere. But if you have a zipper on the top, everything stays inside if you remember to zip it shut. And then on the back, there is another little pocket you can put items in. Great for your cell phone. So on the inside, there we go. There are, you can't really see it, but there's 2 more pockets on the inside. And they're good. You could easily put a nice size wallet in there. And you have 2 little handles. You can detach this if you don't want to do more of a crossbody one. But I really like the crossbody. And then this one, I decided to make this one with cork and home deck fabric. And I just love how it pops against the black fabric. And then just like the other one. And then I just used a similar color in cotton for the lining. And on this one, you'll notice I went a different route. I didn't put the handles on because I really like the crossbody. And so instead of putting on this one and not using it, I said, well, let's leave it off and see how it looks. I did make the handles so I can always attach them if I want to, but no, I really like it. And like I was saying, Noodlehead is the author of this pattern, and she does a great job at writing everything you need to know, like the instructions flow very easy. So we're going to go over to Cindy, and she's going to show you hers.
I will show you mine as soon as I answer a question that one of our customers wants to know what size pillow, and this takes a 16-inch pillow form on our pillows. Okay, so my bag, my Redwood bag, is this one, and it was the coolest one to make. I think this was the nicest bag, I think, as far as the pattern, the ease of the pattern, understanding the pattern, good pictures. I'm kind of a visual learner myself. Had great illustrations. I also put black cork here, and this is home deck fabric, but you could use regular cotton if you'd like to. I did not make the strap. I wanted black leather, and so I found this online, and it actually came with a little tassel too, which was very fun. But this, I mean, I just can't wait. After today, I'm going to use this bag. I'm so excited about that. They're just the neatest bags, and it's kind of stunning, don't you think?
Yeah,
I
agree.
I think they're stunning bags, and it just wasn't all that difficult. It has, I have a box in here, but it has a pocket on the back. You could slip your tablet or whatever in there. It has a zipper pocket in the cork, and inside there's a box here. I'm going to take this out. I just did that so it would be more firm, but it has two. I don't know if you can see. There's two nice big pockets there. Actually, two big pockets. And I found that using the home deck fabric, I could just use my regular needle. I think, well, maybe I used a jeans needle on this, but it worked out really fine. And I love the way there was kind of a unique way to do the boxed bottom. This is a separate piece on here, and it was very unique and went together really well. And I love this method. This was just a great pattern, and I can't wait to make more. This is lovely. This black cork, I did notice, it's a very sharp seam right here where the zipper is. And I did notice, because I had to bend that and press that so sharply, that it started showing just a little bit of the cork, the natural cork color underneath. And I just used my black Sharpie. What would we do without our black Sharpies? I don't know. But anyway, that covered that very nicely. So it was really fun. And this the black came from this package of cork cuts that has this beautiful fuchsia color black, and then kind of a natural with some gold flecks in it. The other package, I think Naomi went over, but this was the one. So this one has been opened, right? It's got purple, is that brown or purple? And I think that aqua color, and then some lighter colors too. So anyway, we have some different cork options for you. But it was so much fun, and I loved this cork. I actually made something else with cork and did some embroidery on it in the past, and it embroiders beautifully. If you've never tried that, the cork, the results are, I mean, they're just stunning. They're just stunning. Okay, we are moving on to the laser cut projects.
Cindy,
yes.
A question, please.
Okay.
What needle did you use with the cork?
I think I used a jeans needle throughout the whole bag. I mean, there's quite, with the home deck fabric, and there's a little bit of interfacing in here. I did not, because of the home deck fabric, I did not use as heavy of interfacing as what was recommended. If you're using cotton, I would definitely use what she recommends. But then the cork, it was pretty thick, so the jeans needle worked really well with that.
Yeah, I use the 90. Is that because when you fold that cork over, you get 2 layers, plus if there's a lining and interfacing, so I use the 90.
Okay, so let's go over to the board, and Naomi and I both did some laser cuts. These are stitches and stirrups and stitches. Stirrups and stitches. And we have brought some of these in the past, but this is kind of a new size. smaller sizes. Look at this cute little set here. Hope, Love, and Joy. These are beautiful and so easy to do. This hummingbird one, can you see the hummingbird down the bottom? I think that took me about 30 minutes total. No sewing. None of these require sewing. What is provided in the package is this black piece here that has a fusible on the back. And then what you do is you put your own batik or whatever you want to put on the back, and then supply this little dowel and your ribbon hanger. On these, this hoop is provided, and the black, and the little hanger that goes on the window or the wall or whatever. It is a little chain. I think you can see the little chain right up here on this one, and this one. So that's what they do. But anyway, very, very fun to do. To get this wavy look here, I used the wavy Olfa blade, and it's not the pinking one, it's called wavy. And I think that some of the stores have that in stock, so because we brought it in for So Fun before. So you want to talk about your particular projects?
Well, and so I did more of in the hoops, and this is what the packaging looks like. You get this, and then it comes with your black laser cut with the fusible. You peel the paper off the back, and you place it on your batik or whatever cotton fabric you decide to use, and you just iron it on. It's as simple as that. And then what I did was I left some overhang, so I hooped it, and then I cut around it. Even though the instruction does say cut it first, I decided, you know, I'm going to wait and cut it so I make sure I have it center and give myself a little extra fabric to work with. And then on hers,
I followed directions. And I actually, you can see where I cut it, and then I just kind of glued it down so I don't have the little fringe. These are adorable with the little fringe, but I didn't want that.
And you could even take like a ribbon and put a ribbon around it.
Sure.
Or another piece of fabric and glue it over it.
If you really want to be over the top.
Yes.
Let's get this job done quick, right?
Well, what are we going to do? We're in quarantine.
Yeah, right. Well, that's true. I don't know what I did with the pin. I think I dropped, there's a pin. Anyway, these are really fun projects, and they make great gifts. And I'm such a bird watcher that I just had to do that hummingbird. And I actually found some batik that, I don't know if you can tell, but there's feathers in there. You can't really see it real well, but I found some feathered fabric, batik fabric, and I love that because I have hummingbirds all over my backyard, so it's very fun. But this is what their packaging looks like. This is actually the hummingbird packaging, but each one of the, now this comes as a set, correct? Is this?
No.
The Hope, Love, and?
No, you get them all single.
Individually. Okay. And then these are individuals. The Christmas one, I tried really hard to find red and green batik, but being confined like we were, I didn't have any in my stash. I couldn't find any online. So I used aqua and green, and it came out okay. So I think it's just whatever you choose to use, it's going to look really cool next to that black. If you put them in a window, they shine through that batik, and it just brightens everything up. Okay, what's next?
Okay.
Naomi.
I'm on camera. Okay, so the next one is Showering Stars. And here's what it looks like. And this, you will use one jelly roll, and then you'll also use some other fabric included. And as you see, you can see the stars. And I used Kaif fabric. And then I really liked it because when I got it quilted, she included some stars to kind of go with the theme. And you kind of, when you make it, you have 4 different color groups. And so you want to pick kind of different colors that look nice together, but kind of flow. And so I had a jelly roll, and I was just like, this is perfect, I'm going to make it work. And I just love the pink with it because it makes all the flowers happy. And I like happy quilts, you know? Sometimes it's a little dreary here when it rains. Not right now. And we need some happy colors. And then for the back, I also use Kaif. And I know you're as surprised as I am.
No Minky.
No Minky. What the heck, Naomi? The thing is, this quilt is 75 by 90, so I could have got away with it, but it's such a big piece, and like I usually get 90-inch Minky, and so I didn't want to like have the Minky stretch because I usually like a couple extra inches on each side, and so I just was like, well, it's okay as long as I put CAFE on the back, so then it all kind of ties together. And then, you know, I hand sewed the board or the binding on. And if you kind of look, you'll see the stars here, and you'll notice little white spots, and that's kind of like the star skipping through the sky is kind of the look they went for. And if you take a look at Cindy's, you'll see hers is a completely different look. But first, I'm going to answer a question and not fall off the stage.
They just wanted to see the holiday pillow again.
Okay, holiday pillow. Nice close-up.
Did you use your scan and cut for your letters?
Yes, I used my scan and cut to cut out all the letters here and iron them on. Nice. And I did that at the very end. Oh, one other fun thing I forgot to mention. Fun thing. When I do pillows, I like to put batting and a lining. So this ends up being nice and thick and comfortable. So it's just not a thin layer.
Over the top again. There you go.
Over the top.
She does such beautiful work.
Let's just all take a nap, okay?
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Take it away, Cindy.
Okay, so this is my showering stars. And as usual, I try to have one patriotic quilt, which will be donated to Quilts of Valor. Every time I've done so fun. So this, I said, oh, those stars, it's perfect for Quilts of Valor. It's a little longer than the recommended length for a Quilt of Valor, but I don't think they're going to refuse it when I give it to them. This was all, except for this fabric, the gray background, everything was from scraps in my stash. And when we cut these two, this was a 108-inch wide fabric, this gray. And I realized, after I had done all of my cutting into normal, like 42-inch wide cuts, like it tells you to do, I could have eliminated a lot of seaming if I would just had left it in 108-inch and then cut out the total length that I needed. Anyway, so I did a lot of seams, but if you have a 108-inch wide fabric that you want to ever use for a background, just be aware of that with this pattern, that you don't have to cut quite as much and sew as many seams as I did. But it was very fun, and this is one of those patterns where you probably want to kind of label your pieces because you have all different lengths here. And if you follow what the pattern says, you know, the links go in kind of an order. So it's one thing that you maybe want to label those as you go, as you do your cutting. Anyway, it was a very, very fun quilt to make. It is very large. I don't even know what I did on the back. Oh, just a gray backing on it. But I'm sure one of our warriors will really appreciate that nice big quilt for either their bed or just to cuddle in. So anyway, that's the Showering Stars. It's very beautiful. Even I don't know, did you show the pattern up front? It's a beautiful colorway on the pattern. It's got the dark background with purples and greens. It's just gorgeous in that colorway as well. So you could just do whatever you want with it, I guess. I love this. I love this pattern. Okay, and we are off to Zen. Oh my gosh, the Zen Bookmarks. This is an In the Hoop bookmark project. Zen, and you can show that they're black and white. And I was a rebel, and I did some color with mine. You can see I have some lavender and some black. Actually, that's a batik with some red in it too. Naomi did hers all black and white. She was good at following directions. Sometimes she doesn't. Sometimes I don't. You know, we all have a little bit of creativity in us, as well as all of you out there. So, but anyway, I like this one because one of my granddaughters is totally into, what are those things called with the little points?
Unicorns?
What's that?
Unicorn?
Unicorns. Thank you. I just couldn't think of the word. Anyway, so she will probably get this one with the unicorn. And this is a butterfly. And then all of these, there's a lot of designs on here. I don't know if you can get a close-up of that. And so you can just play with color, with fabric, whatever you want to do. I put a little yarn on the top of mine just for fun, but you could actually weave some leather. You could do whatever you want to with the top. This little hole is actually in the pattern, so you can actually add things to it. So that's my Zen Bookmarks.
Okay.
And you have kind of a new take on it.
So with the Zen Bookmarks that I made, I actually made a couple more, but it goes to, you know, my daughter stealing some because she saw the unicorn and was like, hey, I want one of those. And I'm like, okay. So what I did was I took a hoop and I put a couple layers of the water soluble stabilizer in it, and I had it stitch my line, and then I put my piece of white fabric inside that line, and then it stitched it out. And then when I was done, you can really just like punch it out. I mean, you just use your fingers and pokes and it just comes right out. Really easy. But my daughter wanted some because she loves to do the fabric markers. And so she told me to color one. And so all you do, this kind of reminds me like in the 90s when it was really in like the clouds and everything, or just happy faces and stuff. So what you're going to do is, yeah, I mean, you can just stitch it out. And then let's see, what do I want to color? You can just fill it in. And I think this is a great way to help motivate kids to read, because you can make them a bookmark and you can pair it with a book for them as a gift. So I just like to go in. It's fun. It's like a coloring book. You're just coloring, and the thread kind of keeps you inside the lines, and you just have fun. And like she said, there's 15 designs. So lots of design options here. Super easy. Once you kind of get the fabric in there and it's stitching, you can just let it stitch, walk away, work on something else. So I believe that's it.
That's it.
Oops, sorry, getting a little close to you.
It's been so much fun to be with you today. Do you have, if there's any other questions that have come in, or?
Not yet, but certainly if they have, if you ladies do have any questions, customers have any questions later, both the consultants and us will take a look and go through all the questions and answer anything that we've not answered so far. So please do ask questions as you like.
Yes. So make sure to just type away, put in all the questions. Make sure you're also putting in the comments below, sharing all your show and tell items so that you can get entered into the drawing.
And that's till next Thursday?
And that's till next Thursday morning.
Yeah.
Thursday afternoon we will be drawing. And these are some of the fun items.
Look.
Hold that up.
Yep.
And so, like she was saying, just keep commenting. We're going to be here. We're going to be watching. If you have any questions, just throw them on there, and one of us will reach out to you, and hopefully we can answer it. And I'd love to see all your show and tell. And if you don't mind, as the North End people know, whenever I come, I always show pictures of my dogs, because I have 3 Great Danes. So I might throw a couple dog pictures on there, because why not? You know, I think it's important for us all to reach out to each other. This is a community, and I really look forward to seeing you guys again soon.
Yes, me too. I miss seeing your faces and having that interaction back and forth. And so another month, another time.
Yes. Thank you for watching.
Thank
Have
you
a good
so
day.
much. Bye-bye.